There is a word that was coined by a writer named Cory Doctorow in 2022 that has since been adopted by economists, tech journalists, and researchers at major universities. It was named Word of the Year by the American Dialect Society in 2023, and once you learn it, you will never be able to use your phone the same way again. That has since been adopted by economists, tech journalists, and researchers at major universities. It was named Word of the Year by the American Dialect Society in 2023, and once you learn it, you will never be able to use your phone the same way again. The word is Enshittification, and it describes exactly what has happened to every app you loved and then slowly stopped loving without ever being able to explain why. Think about the last time an app felt genuinely good. Not useful, good. TikTok in 2020, when it showed you things that actually surprised you. Instagram in 2013, when it was just photos from people you knew. Google in 2010, when the first result was actually the answer. Spotify, when Discover Weekly felt like it was reading your mind. Amazon, when you could search for something and find it. Now think about those same apps today. TikTok is half ads and half content from accounts you never followed. Instagram is a shopping catalog. Google's first page is ads, then SEO spam, then more ads, and somewhere beneath all of that, if you scroll far enough, something resembling an answer. Spotify's homepage looks like a billboard. Amazon's search results are a paid placement auction dressed up as relevance. Nothing broke. Nobody made a mistake. This was the plan. Enshittification is not an accident. It is a business cycle. It is the predictable, documented, almost inevitable life cycle of every platform that achieves dominance. And understanding the psychology behind it will change how you see every screen you interact with for the rest of your life. Here is how it works. Every platform goes through 3 stages. Doctorow described them with clinical precision. Stage 1. The platform is good to users. It is subsidized, often losing money, burning through venture capital to give you something genuinely useful and enjoyable. This is the honeymoon. The app earns your trust, your time, your data, and eventually, your dependency. Stage 2. Once the platform has enough users that leaving feels costly, it pivots. It starts being good to business customers, advertisers, sellers, publishers, at the expense of users. Your feed starts filling with content you didn't ask for. Search results start surfacing paid placements. The algorithm that once served your interests now serves the interests of whoever is paying the platform. Stage 3. Once the platform has extracted enough value from both users and business customers, it starts squeezing them both to return value to shareholders. Fees go up. Reach goes down unless you pay for it. The product degrades to the minimum viable level that users will tolerate before leaving. And the platform bets that you won't leave, because by this point, where would you go? This is not a theory. This is a documented pattern that has now repeated across Google, Meta, Amazon, Twitter, TikTok, Uber. The cycle is so consistent that economists are beginning to treat it as a structural feature of platform capitalism, rather than a series of individual corporate decisions. The psychological question, the one that actually matters, is why we stay. Because we do stay. Usage numbers don't collapse when platforms enshittify. They dip, then stabilize. People complain constantly and keep scrolling. They say they hate Instagram and post on Instagram. They say Google is useless and use Google. The gap between stated preference and actual behavior is enormous. And that gap is not weakness or hypocrisy. It is the result of specific, documented psychological mechanisms that these platforms have spent billions of dollars engineering. The first mechanism is sunk cost entrainment. You have years of memories on Instagram, your photos, your connections, your identity as it was documented over a decade. Leaving doesn't just mean switching apps. It means abandoning an archive of yourself. The platform knows this. The data you generate is also the data that traps you. The second mechanism is network lock-in. The people you want to reach are on the platform. Leaving unilaterally means losing access to them. This is not irrational. It is accurate. The platform's value was always the network, and the network doesn't move with you when you leave. The third mechanism is the tolerance ratchet. Degradation happens slowly. Each individual step is small enough to be rationalized. A few more ads, a slightly worse algorithm, search results that are a little less precise. No single change is bad enough to trigger action, but the cumulative effect, measured across years, is a product that would have been completely unacceptable to you in its earlier form. You adapted, and you adapted, and you adapted, until the bar for what counts as good enough was quietly lowered to the floor. Here is what makes Enshittification specifically a psychological story, and not just an economic story. The platforms that enshittify fastest are the ones that understood human psychology deepest in their early stages. The more precisely a platform was engineered to match your cognitive patterns, your reward cycles, your social needs, your fear of missing out, the more complete the dependency it created. And the more complete the dependency, the more aggressively it can be monetized before users reach their breaking point. Instagram understood that social validation is one of the most powerful motivators in human behavior. It built a machine that delivered social validation in the most frictionless, measurable, instantly gratifying form ever created. Every like was a small neurological reward. Every follower was a small status signal. It trained millions of people to associate the app with self-worth. And once that association was established, once the emotional wiring was in place, the ads could come. The shopping features could come. The reels you didn't ask for could come. Because by that point, the platform wasn't competing with other apps. It was competing with your need for belonging. And that is a competition it was always going to win. Google understood that people trust authority. It built the most authoritative-seeming information interface ever created. You didn't search Google. You asked Google. The implicit promise was that Google would give you the best answer, not the most profitable one. That trust took 20 years to build. It is now being systematically spent. Every ad above the organic results, every AI overview that scrapes content creators built and delivers it without attribution. Every SEO farm that reverse-engineered the algorithm, well enough to crowd out actual expertise. The trust is being liquidated, and most users still type their questions into the search bar out of pure habit, out of the decade of reliable answers that preceded the decline. This is the cruelty of enshittification from a psychological standpoint. The damage is done with the credibility that was earned during the good phase. You trust Google because of the Google that existed in 2008. You scroll Instagram because of the Instagram that existed in 2014. You are in a relationship with a memory of a product, and the product has been replaced by something designed to extract value from that memory. There is also something happening to cognition that researchers are only beginning to measure. When platforms degrade their search quality, users don't simply switch to better sources. Studies show they adjust their information-seeking behavior. They ask simpler questions. They accept worse answers. They develop what researchers are calling platform-induced learned helplessness, a gradual resignation to the idea that finding good information online is simply difficult, that this is just how the internet works now, rather than recognizing it as a deliberate product decision made in a boardroom. The enshittification of information platforms is not just annoying. It is making people worse at finding truth, at evaluating sources, at navigating the information environment that now mediates almost everything about how they understand the world. And the irony that is almost too dark to sit with. The people most affected are the people who grew up with the platforms in their good phase, who built their entire information-seeking behavior around interfaces that no longer work the way they learned to use them, and who have no strong memory of what it felt like to find information any other way. So what do you do with this? The honest answer is that individual solutions are limited. Switching to a better search engine helps you, but it does not change the structural incentives that produce enshittification. Using a chronological feed instead of an algorithmic one helps your mental health, but it does not change the advertising model that makes the algorithm necessary. The change that actually matters is recognizing the cycle for what it is, early enough to make deliberate choices before the dependency is complete. When a new platform arrives and it is genuinely good, that is not a gift. That is stage one. That is the investment phase, where your trust and your data and your behavioral patterns are being collected against the day when they will be used to keep you on a platform that no longer deserves you. Knowing that does not mean refusing to use good products. It means holding them differently. Less trust, more awareness of what you are trading, more willingness to leave before the cost of leaving becomes unbearable. The platforms are counting on you to wait too long. They have studied exactly how long people wait. They have optimized the degradation speed accordingly. The most radical thing you can do is make the decision to leave while it still feels like a choice, before it starts to feel like a loss. Before you go, I want to know something. Which app do you remember loving? And what was the exact moment you noticed it had changed? Put it in the comments. Not the app you hate now, the moment you felt it shift. Because I think that moment is more specific and more universal than most people realize. And I want to see if I am right. If this landed, there is a video already coming on how recommendation algorithms are not just showing you content. They are gradually reconstructing your personality around what keeps you watching. Subscribe so you are there when it goes up. I will see you then.